Good evening. Welcome to the October 17th meeting of the Town of Gorham Board of Appeals. The meeting will come to order. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session and asks everyone to leave the room, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all exhibits that are offered. Please notify the chairman if you are unable to hear or see. The board works from a prepared agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have the approval of the previous meeting's minutes and appeal number 2402, which is a single-family dwelling setback variance for Michael E. Smith. Map 88, lot 14.019. Those are the two items on the agenda this evening. For each case, proponents will be asked to proceed first and then be available to answer questions from the board. After all proponents have spoken, the opponents may make their presentations and then be questioned by the board. After all opponents have spoken, each side will be given an opportunity for a brief rebuttal. This meeting is being tape recorded, and it is very difficult to hear what is being said when multiple people speak at the same time. Please refrain from interrupting other speakers. That shouldn't be a problem this evening. Questions should be addressed through the chair. We ask that each person offering testimony come forward to the microphone and begin by giving his or her name and address. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. Applicants for variances must specifically address and prove compliance with each of the four undue hardship criteria. Following a decision on any application or appeal, toward the end of the meeting, the board will prepare a written decision indicating its findings of fact and conclusions of law that will be mailed to the applicant within 7 days of the board's vote. The applicant is free to stay during the written decision process, but is not required to. If your appeal is granted, you must obtain or file the appropriate paperwork prior to commencing any action. If anyone wishes to appeal the board's decision, you must do so to Superior Court within 45 days. Are there any questions? None. The first thing we need is a roll call.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order. I would like to make a suggested amendment to our agenda.
Please.
And I would like to insert, prior to the roll call, that we begin the practice of the Pledge of Allegiance prior to our meetings on a forward basis.
Do you have a motion?
I would make that into a motion, yes, sir.
Second? We have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, why?
I think it's the general practice of most of the committees that I've seen here in Gorham prior to council meetings, planning board meetings, at least those two that I'm aware of, perform that practice prior to the meeting. And I thought it would be a nice gesture here.
Well, I'm not in favor of that. I don't see any need to pledge allegiance for townspeople working on town issues. I pledged allegiance like probably everyone thousands of times since I was a kid. And I don't know, tradition, but it's not one I will support, and I won't participate if we decide to do that. No disrespect, I just disagree.
Motion, we have a second.
The other thing is, I would say that we might, if this is, might be better to have all 7 members here. I'm going to consider that. Anyway.
Is it your preference that we take a vote now, or does that suggestion that we wait till we have 7 members?
Oh, that would be fine.
Perfect. So table it until
Sure. Yeah.
motion is
Next meeting.
tabled. Thank you. So then we have the approval of the September 19th, 2024 Board of Appeals minutes. Has each member had a chance to review those? Motion? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? 3. All opposed? Abstention? All right, so now we move on to the appeal that we have tonight, which is a single-family dwelling setback variance by Michael E. Smith, property owner and petitioner, seeking a single-family dwelling setback for map 88, lot 14.019. At this time, we would typically ask the applicant to come and make a presentation, but those of you at home, we are sitting in an empty room. So the applicant either was not able to make it or didn't believe that their presence was required. We will attempt to take this subject based on the materials submitted. If we run into any particular snag with that, we may have to table it until the applicant is available. So in your packet is the application, and in that application, it's okay with the rest of the board, I'll kind of just present what's there. I won't present anything that's not there. Is that fair enough, so that we can kind of get it into the record a little bit? The applicant shows the address at 23 Woodland Road. According to their plot plan, they are on the corner of High Meadow Drive and Woodland Road, which makes it a corner lot, which means the way our code is applied, there are 2 front setbacks. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott?
Correct.
Thank you. So in this case, the house faces Woodland Road, and the applicant would like to expand to the left side of that house, which is towards High Meadow Drive, which the expansion would put them into the setback. And they have submitted an application to reduce that setback by, Scott, do you know the exact measurement that they're?
Asking for the, I would think the 20% by my understanding, because 20% of the 50 is 10 feet.
So, and that, question for you, Scott, as far as you're concerned, that is well within our authority to do if, I know like the last time, that made it difficult. This person does in fact live at this address, so it makes it so that it's a,
Yes, he is a full-time resident there.
the applicant submitted a plot plan and pictures to go along with this to show us where the house sits, sketches of the proposed addition. And along with that same, they provided a narrative of the criteria and how they felt that the criteria was met. Board member has had a chance to review that. Does everybody have the copy of the applicant's narrative? Request to add. So the 4 criteria, I might as well just keep going. Feel free to stop me if you guys are tired of my voice, but criteria 1, that the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstances of the property and not to the general conditions of the neighborhood. And I suppose I'm just going to stop for a second. I know that we all can see that this room is empty, so I'm going to do a couple things to make sure that we've given the opportunity. First of all, any proponents, step to the microphone. There are none. Any opponents? There are none. Step to the microphone. Members of the public that would like to speak, so it's an open public forum. Anybody could come in and talk right now if they want to. Seeing nobody, we'll close the public forum. Check those boxes. Everybody okay with that? Okay, sorry. So now we'll get back to item 1. So the answer that the applicant gave was that their home sits on a corner lot, so that we are regulated by a frontal setback on 2 sides. We're asking for the variance on the High Meadow side of the home, which is the side of the home. The home sits up 7 feet from the road, so any danger from traffic is minimized. There is in fact another 16 feet from the property line to the pin, to the road edge, considering the sidewalk and the homeowner-maintained lawn. So that is the first criteria. This is where we would normally ask if there are any questions of the board for the applicant. Are there any concerns with that particular criteria from the board? My understanding is that we need to take each one of these, like we did last time, have an individual vote on each one of these, so a motion, a vote, and then if any one of these doesn't pass, and we should have the discussion up front. Scott, so we have a quorum, which is 4 people. Majority of the board would be 3, so as long as 3 people vote to pass, if it's a 2-2 tie, the motion will fail.
Correct.
Okay. So we're all clear, it has to be at least 3-1, whichever way the motion is made, in order, at least 3, if not 4. So I'd accept a motion on this particular item.
Item number 1.
Number 1, just number 1, that the need for the variance is due to the unique circumstances of the property and not the general conditions of the neighborhood.
I would make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second from Craig. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Moving on to criteria 2, that the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality. The applicant noted that the porch will be a 3-season porch and designed by Mike Richmond, Custom Concepts of Scarborough, to best improve the aesthetics of the home and give us a bit more livable space, and will not encumber any of the surrounding neighbors. And then it refers us to the pictures. See the pictures, which are the pictures and the application depict a small addition to the left side of the house that also sits slightly forward, which should not encroach upon setback on the front side, but does in fact encroach upon the setback in the side. Entertain a motion on that second criteria.
That motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mike? Further discussion on that particular criteria? None. The motion is that the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality. All in favor? That is also unanimous. Criteria 3, that the hardship is not the result of action taken by the applicant or the prior owner. Applicant states that we have not had any work done to this project. This is the first step in the process for us. Yep, that's the information we have. So do you know, Scott, maybe this is a question, the established neighborhood, I know it's been around for a long time. I assume the house has been there for a long time. I don't know, I mean, where this particular question addresses a prior owner as well, are we aware of any ownership string or?
Would have to look at the building folder, which I could if you wanted me to in a few minutes, to see who the actual applicant was at the beginning of it.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a contractor that will take out the permit, but I don't know for sure without looking at the application.
I'm not sure what you're asking. The home isn't, complies right now.
Correct.
So the hardship for him is building this addition. So I don't see how.
No, I just did the particular, hearing you say that out loud definitely changes how I view it. I'm just curious about the ownership string, but I agree, since it's in compliance right now, that really probably doesn't come into play. Yep.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the warranty deed and Exhibit A that he supplied us in the package indicates that he and his wife purchased the property from a Bruce and Margaret. And then prior ownership to that was Peter and Nancy, looks like Hart, H-A-R-T.
By the nature of the pictures of the house, it looks like that structure was the existing structure all the way through. It doesn't look like it was previously added onto and pushed it closer. So I tend to be satisfied with that. Is there a motion or further discussion?
move that the hardship is not the result of action taken by the applicant.
For the prior.
Second.
Yep. Further discussion? So the motion is that the hardship is not the result of the action taken by the applicant or the prior owner. All in favor? Unanimous as well. Fourth criteria, that the granting of the variance will not substantially reduce or impair the use of the abutting property. The applicant's answer to that was there is not an abutting property. The structure will be on the High Meadow Road side. Fair enough answer to me. The abutting property is essentially the road side. Discussion before a motion. Accept a motion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Mike? Any discussion? Granting of the variance will not substantially reduce or impair the use of the abutting property. All in favor? Well, the fifth criteria, that the granting of the variance is based upon demonstrated need, not convenience, and no other feasible alternative is available. The applicant's answer to this particular item was, this will be designed to be a sunroom, therefore, we would like it to be on the south side of the home, which is the front and left side. The back of the house has a bulkhead behind the living room, and the slider from the kitchen area walks out on the deck that has a hot tub, and there is a retaining wall. The well water line and power also run under this deck. It would be preferable not to put a larger structure that would require more substantial groundwork so that the access to the well line would not be more encumbered in the future. Pictures to show the location of. Discussion on that particular item?
I would make the motion, item number 5. Grant the variance based upon the demonstrated need.
Convenience and no other feasible alternative is available.
Exactly.
Second? Greg, thank you. Discussion before we vote? All in favor? Okay, sorry, I didn't see your hand,
No, I
sorry.
was waiting.
Okay, yeah,
So this is the one where, yeah, I do have some questions. And I wish they were here. Because in number 2, he said, give us a bit more livable space. And then this criteria says based upon demonstrated need, not convenience, and no other feasible alternative is available. So the lot, I mean, there's a lot of land behind the house.
sure.
And I hear the idea is for a sunroom. I don't know when this picture was, well, I mean, what time of day this picture was taken, but it shows the sun sort of on the back of the house on picture,
Yeah, I see it.
whatever it is. And on the plot plan, it shows the bulkhead, and he mentions the well line someplace. So those are, you'd have to work around the bulkhead. I don't see the well line as being a huge obstacle. So I guess, I mean, this, this looks like the most convenient location on the side of the house. But I'm not sure there isn't another alternative where they say, give us a bit more livable space. So, like, I think, did they say someplace that the kitchen was on the back of the house? Read that.
Oh, let's see.
It's, the house has a bulkhead by the living room and a slider from the kitchen area. Walks out into the deck. that
Oh,
has
it's
a
right
hot
here,
tub,
yeah, okay.
So they do have a deck and a hot tub on that deck, on the back of the house.
I think, if I'm understanding you correctly, Mr. Sterling, the word you're seem to be looking at is the convenience.
Other feasible alternative.
Right. I think those two, right, I mean, I think they're both left up to interpretation for us. I mean, obviously, those words have meaning for sure. Is convenient during construction or and feasible, you know, at some point, alternatives are not feasible. At some point, they are feasible, right? I mean, so I guess that's for us to interpret at this point. Based on the layout of the house itself, the garage is on the right-hand side, the plot plan. It doesn't seem like the right side of the house makes much sense. And that's not convenience, that's just, it's not feasible to, I mean, if I was going to have an addition to my house, I wouldn't want to walk through my garage to get there. So that would make it. And to be perfectly honest, it looks like that's already fairly close to the line. I mean, I know the shed is over there, but the shed has a different setback criteria. Is that correct, Scott?
Could, depending on the size. If it's under 150 square feet, it can be within 5 feet of the property line.
Don't give us a perfect dimension to that, but it may seem like that's. What is the side setback in this zone?
20 feet.
Which page is the plot plan again? Oh,
It is right on the back side of the same page that I've been reading from. They're not numbered. Your comment about where the sun is in that picture is a great comment. Depending on the time of the year and the time of the day, right? Because sunrise and sunset, you know, in July is a wider array than exactly 6 months opposite that. So that could be at its widest point late in the day. But I don't know. I agree with you. That's a peculiar picture in the sense that, and then the other thing that's missing from the plot plan is the north arrow, right?
Right.
That would be convenient.
First thing I looked at. So, and then on the plot plan, I don't see a back deck. I see, unless that little thing
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
behind the front deck, is that a deck or are those steps?
I would say those are steps.
Looks to me like steps, yeah.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Technology.
Right.
On the front there, Greg, on the left side of the house, he's got covered steps. I think that's the front door as well, that you see in the photo.
Oh, actually, yeah, what are we doing? On number 5, he says,
Yeah,
sunroom, we would like to be on the south side, which is front slash side.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. See in the drawing is the front door and the little dormer over the steps. If you look at the photo, the first photo, just to the right, well, it's barely in the photo, but there's a deck. And I think that's where the hot tub is. I don't know why you put a hot tub in the front of your house, but that's the deck he was referring to. And then as Mark pointed out earlier, you've your garage after that. Then out back, you have the bulkhead to the basement.
Based on the description that he's given us, that it's the front and side, that would be the side that would get the most sun. Orientation of the Google map, which always puts north up. I'm going to say that this picture was taken in the morning, and that's the sunrise, because it rolls around the house, because based on this orientation, the front of the house is the south side of the house. Then it would get afternoon sun on that, and that's why he's pushing it forward, again, based on his description and what's publicly available. Breezeway between that and the garage. But I think there's, on the back side, almost see, and that's why he's got the fence. I think that's where the hot tub is there's a deck off the back, because that's kind of how he's got it worded, is the back of the house has a bulkhead behind the living room, and the slider from the kitchen area walks out onto the deck. So the way he's got that sentence written makes me believe that the deck and the hot tub are on the back side of the house, which would make sense. You wouldn't want it on your front porch. No. I mean, some people might. I'm not wired that way. Does that satisfy your curiosity on that, Mr. Sterling?
Yeah,
Okay. Any further discussion on this item before we hold a vote? Again, the motion that was made and seconded is the fifth criteria, that the granting of the variance is based on the demonstrated need, not convenience, and no other feasible alternatives are available. All in favor? That is also unanimous. So we have 5 items, 5 criteria that were all unanimously adopted. We need a final motion on the appeal itself.
Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the appeal by Michael E. Smith, 3 Woodland Road, Gorham, as presented.
Second? there a second? We have a second. Before we move on to anything, Scott does have a comment, and I don't want to,
The house, if you do grant the setback, it's only 10 feet, which would only bring him to 40 feet. I would just make a note, because according to his drawing, he shows that the house would be 37, or that deck would be 37 feet, not 40 feet, which you're.
okay.
Waivers, I would suggest that the board do.
Claire, 'cause-
something that they don't reference.
Right, the plot plan that we reference our ability, so, all right, fair enough, that's a great catch. So would you entertain amending your motion to say that we move to reduce the setback by the 20% allowed? Which turns out, even Gorham High School math tells me that's 10 feet. And that's only because Scott cheated and gave me the answer. You agree to amend the motion?
In that motion, yes.
Okay, so is the board clear on what the amended motion is, that it's been moved and seconded to reduce the setback by 20%, which is 10 feet, which would allow setback to go from 50 feet to 40 feet, even though the plot plan shows 37.9, so it still seems like this applicant is going to need to amend their plan in order to meet that reduction.
Which they can do during the application process.
And it's, according to the, look at the property line, it's going to grow as soon as you
Right,
start down the addition.
if they shove that addition back a little bit, they might be able to find that sweet spot where they can, not up to us to figure out. Scott, you're confident in your ability to explain that and then review the building permit should they submit it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion, a second. Is there further discussion on that from the board? Seeing none? All in favor? That's unanimous as well.
So, wait, what
Yep.
was the motion?
The motion was to allow the setback to be reduced by the 20%, which reduces the setback by 10 feet, not associated with the plot plan submitted. So they would still have, the maximum that we can approve is a 20% setback
No, I'm just-
reduction.
I think we have to vote to approve the amendment, and then we vote,
Oh, okay.
re-vote.
All right, so how about we do this? Rather than amend it, would you, for clarification, I believe it's already passed, but I agree with you, Scott, Mr. Sterling, that we should definitely do that. So would you restate the motion? We'll get a new second and a clarification vote as to what we were voting on. Because was your understanding that we were voting to allow the amendment?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I think the way it's supposed to work is when you amend a motion, you vote on the amendment, and then
Okay.
you go back and vote on the amended motion. So, I mean,
So for clarification is the easiest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as everybody
I
agrees
just
is
don't want to
the
get
important
caught.
thing.
Right, no,
Yeah.
that's great. So, since it was your motion, would you rather restate it or amend it?
I just want to make sure all the members clearly understand what we're voting on. So, you see if I can restate it. How's that? Makes more sense. Hold it for just a second. Sure. I will make a motion that we approve the Board of Appeals application from Michael Smith at 23 Woodland Road. Well, I'm not sure if I want to. Scott, you may have to help me here. Provided the fact that it meets the 20%.
You can state it too, that
I am,
you're voting on the 20%, which will be equal to a 40-foot setback. And just keep it at that.
Motion to approve the application to allow the setback to be reduced to 40 feet. That's an entirely new motion. Previously, you seconded that. Would you also second this one? Yes. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the clean motion to reduce the setback to 40 feet? None? All in favor of that? That is unanimous as well. So, to my knowledge, we've concluded the business because we have voted on all 5 criteria. All 5 criteria passed, and then we voted on the motion itself.
The application itself.
The application itself, excuse me, and that application passed. So the only thing left to do is to have a written finding of fact. And since the applicant is not here, and the person who normally helps us with that is not here, Nina, I would accept a motion to allow the board chair to sign off on that once it's all done, unless you would all like to have Nina write that up at her earliest convenience within the next 7 days, and we can all travel to the office and sign it, whichever is the preference.
No, I think if she sends us her
Draft? Yep.
then, yeah, I'm fine with you signing.
Last time it got written up.
Yeah, and I think we had to fix that, right? So, and I think that's convenient. I think that, let her sit, whoever's going to do it, let them sit at their space, write it up, get it correct how they want it, send it to the board, especially the board members that were here for review, and then if we all agree that, no comments, and that won't be a meeting per se, that'll just be, so once she sends that out, if anybody has a comment on it, just reply directly to her. You don't need to do a reply all, so we're not starting a meeting by any means, and then if she has any corrections, she can let me know when it's correct, and I can go in. So the motion would essentially be, if I make it, but the motion is, as far as I'm concerned, to, once the findings of fact have been drafted and reviewed by each of the board members here, and each of the board members has agreed that it's correct, that the board members allow me to go in and sign, so there's only one of us that has to go do it. That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second
Any discussion? All in favor? Ayes. Final motion is motion to adjourn.
So moved.
that. Second.
All in favor? Meeting's over.